We get on the line Abdulai Bayraytay, we are the presidential spokesman. Good morning, Abdulai Bayraytay, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, but I can hardly hear you though.
You get me now?
A little bit.
All right. We don't see this article. We don't go around. We now the Telegraph publisher online and don't they go around and they talk about IMF stop funds over election budgets. Within government's makeup of this.
Well, I will just repeat within we Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Development talked yesterday over the BBC. In fact, it's been supposed for countdown as to do this morning, but some family issues make him able to I will apologize for that. But that notwithstanding, in interview we gave was very clear. And as we always believe, say, this election, as we they go into RAM, the facts we they talk on, that the IMF don't even pull a press release. We very, very categorical and clear say, they don't discredit the African Confidential the reports for say, as far as they're concerned, they not suspend Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone continue for meet all the obligations and then still they continue with the program we then get with the government. This is what we expect African Confidential, a very, very credible newspaper, not until yesterday, because when I listened to the editor, Patrick Smith, the emphasis was, oh, this reports were don't pull, it come at a time it is a storm when they go into election. It is more of a political article, right? Because at the end of the day, imagine IMF don't come out with a press release, we don't discredit them. So we, at the end of the day, we will continue for remain focused, for continue for work for this country and the people of this country. This election, not to rhetorics get us.
So let me go.
Election about what we don't do with track record. As I say, let them go and write it. Like IMF doesn't discredit African Confidential. That we then still continue with we, and that we don't meet all the obligations. And I make this is a distraction. But the only thing though, in the name of journalism, I not feel say African Confidential will go rely on a leaked memo as they say, without contacting the government, only to go to press, then they interview and then begin to throw some political spanners in the work. Right. So for us, we are very much satisfied that the IMF has come out very clearly and categorical that the report of without naming African Confidential, that it is a lie, and that then they continue for work with we because we are credible enough as a government.
Let me look at the issues. Inside June last year, according to this article, and in fact, say government and IMF begets an agreement for over $224 million program, and we will see them don't disperse about 54 million. From that ended to now, the IMF don't disperse any money apart from the.
Pardon?
I say the program where the IMF be negotiated with governments for a package of over 200 million last year inside June, where they don't disperse 54 million of to government. From that end to now, they don't do additional disbursement.
Well, the disbursements the way IMF can do now by fee. In fact, when King come, then do a review, then pull the next tranche. Now then they under the provisions of the ECF, when they extended credit facility, the program will get with them. So until after the review, then transfer, and I make the $224 million is not a one-time payment. It is a payment where they do it a four-year program. No, we know that. So for let them continue for even their program will be on a continual basis, even in an election year, that don't tell you say as a responsible government, we they continue for make sure say we meet all the obligations contained in the press release where the IMF step don't pull. So this is where I think the African Confidential therefore is humble pie and apologize to this nation. But particularly when the reports come on, we see it's so interesting. Some people and they even say, oh, then they can't suspend Sierra Leone. Not knowing that Sierra Leone, even we are going into elections, the country has to survive. It is not about the politics.
The issue what they ask, if now from we then be do that first disbursement, they don't disburse the one. They not disburse no other money from that end.
I tell you, say the minister was clear on BBC yesterday. They don't disburse the first tranche, and we always continue to review the program, and then just come here again. Then can't visit, then don't review. And from the press release, we then don't pull it the IMF. They're very categorical.
So
I only hope
let me look at some of the issue there.
We're able to read them for let the public understand. Let them know say we they talk from facts.
The other issue them
so as I talk to you now, so they don't release the first tranche, and we continue the program with them, which is on course and contained in the press release.
The other issue them
no distractory at all.
Bayraytay, the other issue then will come up from the article where now the government's own obligation in terms of the agreement we then get with IMF, which is surprise plenty people. Now the fact that the issue of fuel subsidy also will be topical inside 2016. We will see the fuel price begin for rise to 6,000 from 3,700. Still they inside then kind of discussion also.
Well, as we say, governments will subsidize a lot. But before we do them, we as a government, we are a government human face. Social protection for the poor is very key in all the programs that they do. Now that makes even the agenda for prosperity. It just happens that any country can call on the way we want. But in essence, it is the poverty reduction strategy paper 3, the PRSC 3. And we focus on that. Now that makes anything one do, we engage with development factors, including the World Bank, including the IMF. And so far, it is very categorical that we are on course with them. We will continue to meet all the obligations as contained in the press release with the IMF released yesterday. Because then she say African Confidential one give what you call a political stunt to the meeting, because it is even very disingenuous for anybody to go rely on a leaked cable you publish and without talking to the government. Any responsible journalist will have contacted the Ministry of Finance, or rather than we don't publish, that they say now BBC pick them up, then they interview it. I think that is unfair journalism.
Governments, they put fuel subsidy. They talk now.
Well, that is not on the radar for now. We are not discussing about any removal of subsidies for now. We are focused.
Another removal, because to understand,
the World Bank subsidy give money back to NACS.
Fuel subsidy.
We try to put lots of millions again to particular districts then, so we know they are more vulnerable as a way of social protection. So this is what you get when you are a responsible government enough. You be able, even at the nick of election, the international community, they continue to repose absolute confidence in you, because we both with micro and macroeconomic policies then they in line with the provisions of the partners they're more with the deal with.
One for tell you plenty, thank you. We will find time for discuss the issues there so more.
Thank you for the opportunity.